welcome everybody. Today we are in Ahoy, Rotterdam with these legends today. And we're going to do advanced service positioning and we're going to start right now.
Vamos!
Okay.
Ah, lekker boelie!
And we have sales on justpadel.com.
I like it.
You like it? Good match. First things first, I think it's good to tell your partner where he's going to serve, because I'm going to tell you now that you have to move with the ball to get the best possible position, to cover the court correctly. If you don't say where you're going to serve, you will be positioned in the wrong place, and you have to move more in order to get a good volley or in order to get a good smash. So you might not be smashing so good because you're not in the correct position. You might not have good volleys, not because you have bad volleys, but because you're in the wrong position when your partner is serving. So this is so important. So this is tip number one, is say where you're going to serve. Where are you going to position yourself when your partner is serving? And this should be different on the first and the second serve. This should be different based on, are you going to serve to the middle, to the glass and to the body. And then we're going to learn today where you should position yourself in order to win easy points or to not get lobbed. If your partner is serving to the glass, you need to cover the fence. So you need to cover the down the line ball. Not because this is the best possible option for the returner, might be for the player on the right side, because if the player on the right side is playing the return straight, they might up having a backhand volley. So this is for some people a very difficult shot, and you can get a lot of easy points by just returning straight. So if you're not covering that part, you need to move and play a backhand volley. So if you're serving cross courts in this line, the player at the net needs to cover straight. If the player is going for the middle return, the blue player needs to get the ball back here. They need to leave this space open because it's the most complicated angle. The player over here is going to play the shot cross courts a lot if your second serve or first serve is just not good enough. So if you get passed in this area, it's your own fault. I'm gonna serve from the right, my partner is positioned at the left, or the other way around, the easiest kind of serve. If the server is serving to the center of the court, you need to move to the center of the court. You have two options. You're going to position yourself at the first post or you're going to position yourself at the second post. This depends on the quality of the server. So if the server has a very good and low serve, the players might not have so many lobs, and it would be better to be positioned at the first post. If you're positioned at the first post, you have to be careful that you can get lobbed. So if your partner doesn't have a good serve, position yourself at the second post. You will see in this video that we are trying to pass the opponent with short angles, and sometimes we are failing, sometimes we are winning, but it's so complicated. So I would highly recommend to open gaps, which are the most difficult option for your opponent. Let them play there and see at the end of the match who wins the most points. So people are going to play there. People play there more often if your serve is not as good. So if you have a very good serve, then you can leave more space open. If you don't have a good serve, they might up ending to play short cross angles, lobs. They have a lot of options. So investing in a first serve with a high percentage in and a very low bounce might be one of the most important things in this video. So when you're serving to the tee in the center of the court, the player in the middle at the net will leave this angle open. Let them play here. This is this is the most difficult angle to play to. So just leave this open and see at the end of the match who wins the most points. So if the player is playing a return through the middle, the player that is going to serve is moving to this direction, and they actually need to move towards the first post. So they need to move more. So if you're serving towards the center, you both have to be at the first post. If you were playing in this position, you can stay at the second post when moving around here. So you have to move less when you're serving outside towards the glass. This angle is easier for the opponent. So you need to be able to play this ball back and to cover the center. So your job in this position is to cover more of the center, and you need to leave this space open. Let them play the ball there, because otherwise you cannot help your partner in the center of the court. So with the body serve, in my opinion, is one of the best. I actually recommend, when you play to the body, to serve in this position so the player gets a backhand, because if the player gets a backhand here, he is never ever to make this angle. It's so complicated. So then the player that is in front can move slightly more to the middle and can hurt a lot with forehands, with a lot of angles from this position. So you actually gain a lot more, especially when serving from the right to the right, to play there or here. So you are more likely that they cannot play on your backhand, and when you play in this position, it is also likely that the player here can get a forehand volley. If, for instance, you play your serve here, this player has to go to this direction to cover the backhand. So when you serve to the glass, the player that is going there actually gets a lot of backhand volleys. And with the backhand volley, also from the second post, you cannot make so many angles. As a basic guideline, the player in front is at the first post and the player cross courts is at the second post. One of the biggest mistakes in Australian formation is that the player is serving to the outside. And for club level, I will not recommend this serve, because the player that is serving has to move to the first post, which is quite far. And this is around the second post, I would say. So you need to run a lot in order to cover this area. And you have to run quite far, and you have to run to the side, which is so complicated. You need to cover, run here and be positioned at the first post closer to the net than this player, because this player needs to cover the middle and needs to cover this angle. So that he has both things. So the player cross courts always has a bigger court to defend. So that's quite a complicated option. So if you serve to the center of the court, you will serve here. The player that is in this direction is able to play there, play there, play there. This is the best option, in my opinion, for the return on this position. This is a very complicated angle for him. This is quite of a good shot. So the blue player needs to cover this one and this one. The player that is serving needs to move exactly in the same line as the returner. And his partner should be exactly 1.5 meters away from them. So they always move in a line. So if you play Australian, serve to the center, or what we could serve to the middle on the body, and then especially the forehand side of the player, because the angle cross is more complicated. If he has a backhand, he can be quite aggressive in that corner. He is able to play there and he's able to play there. If you're playing the second serve, I would highly recommend to play like a higher serve, so you have time to go to the net, so you can position yourself in the correct way. So if you're playing Australian and you're playing a second serve, it might be better to play a higher serve so you have more time to get closer to the net, or a slower shot to the glass so you have time to go to the net and still cover it. It would be difficult to serve towards the glass, especially with the second serve, because the angle straight is a very dangerous angle and they can hurt you a lot. So if you're playing a second serve, I would highly recommend to serve to their bodies, because it's more difficult to make an angle. And if they play the lob, it's kind of this lob, which is more complicated. So if you're playing a second serve in Australian, don't make an angle, play to the middle or to the body, to the tee or to the body. And make sure that your partner might be slid a little bit more to the second post in order to defend the lob. Because a lot of players, they lob on the second serve and they don't lob on a fast, low first serve. Another tip is mix up the serve. So in this video we have the glass serve, we have the body serve, and we have the tee serve. We don't have the coffee serve, but it would be nice to have a coffee, but there's nobody here. But if you serve to the tee, people have to run, which is good. If you serve to the glass, they might struggle with returning the glass. Some players are quite slow, or some players are quite good away from them, but when you serve fast to their bodies, they are not so good anymore. If you play the same serve over and over again, it might be that your opponent gets a better and better return along the way during the match. So sometimes you're winning the first set quite easily, but you're doing the same thing, and then they kind of have an answer for it. So you still, even though you're winning or even though you're losing, you still need to change it up. So at least have two variations, middle and glass, or to the tee and to the glass, or to the tee in the middle, to change it up. Because then the return, they just play worse returns. The reason that your serve is getting lobbed is because the bounce is too high or the service is too slow. So if the service is slow, the returner has a lot of time to get underneath the ball, which means they can play everywhere. They can play high, they can play down. So slice the serve, play it down, and you will be able to cover the court way, way easier. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you want to see more videos like this, then let us know. And see you next episode. Hasta luego. Ciao. Adios.